think I went at maybe 10:55 and I ordered one. There was a little girl, like, I don't know, she wasn't the same race as them.
Okay.
And I guess she was being babysat. I don't know, but she was just sitting down. She had a Kogo. It looked way too big for her to fit in her body.
A Kogo is a big.
Yeah,
those fry bits make it into a real big pogo.
Yeah. And she was this cute little girl talking to this other guy who was waiting for his stuff about Pokemon.
Why not?
Yeah, they were just having a great conversation, and I was like, I wish I knew Pokemon. I want to get in on this. Like, I'm just sitting here waiting. I felt very antisocial, you know. I wish I could have spoken about it, but I had no idea what to say. But when he left, she eventually did speak to me, telling me how I was very lucky that I made it in there on time because they're closed now, and someone tried to get in after me, and they wouldn't let him in. The door was like locked, and and then someone said, "You're very lucky because we closed it." She was very, very charming.
I like that story. That's a nice little story.
It's a non-story. It doesn't have a beginning,
it doesn't have
middle,
like a
or an end.
punchline at the end or anything. But I just imagine a little girl working on that big Kogo, like it's just too big for her mouth. She's just kind of biting little bits of French fry off of it, dipping it, and kind of working on it.
And maybe sensing that I felt left out, felt that I was a little alone.
She saw that you were longing for that human connection. With that Pokemon conversation that you could not have. And she thought, he doesn't need to know about Pokemon. I could just talk to him about what I see here.
He's still a human being.
She's good at talking to people.
Yeah.
You, on the other hand?
Not so great.
Good at being talked to?
No, not even. Today I was walking over here, and I saw someone I hadn't seen in, say how many years, since 2008. How many years ago was that? That's 8 years ago.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. I saw someone I hadn't seen in 8 years, not since CJEP, and she noticed me. I didn't. I had my headphones on. I just saw this person who looked like they were in a great deal of pain and shock. But it was because they had recognized me.
He was just surprised.
Saying my name, but my headphone up. But it was like, okay.
Also not good at recognizing emotions, apparently.
No. Pain and shock. And
they were just like, oh, hey. Yeah. You're like, oh, that person looks like they broke something.
On. It was really awkward. You're in the middle of the street, and it's like, I'm going one way, you're going the other way.
You guys got to pick a side.
Who's
closer?
Well, who needs to be somewhere more? And I'm like, I don't need to be somewhere more than she does, I'm sure. I mean, I feel like I'm leading one of the least important lives out of every other person I meet. I always feel like whatever they're doing is probably, they have a place to be. So I know I had a place to be too, but your burger's going to get here, you know.
So that's why my burger was cold.
No, I hadn't gotten the burger yet.
Okay.
So that's why your burger was late. So I awkwardly just started walking with her.
Okay.
When I was clearly going on my own place, and I haven't slept in many hours. I feel like this is probably one of the worst times to see me.
Sure.
And she's like, "What are you up to now?" And I was like, "Oh, why did you ask what I'm up to now?" I didn't say that, but I hate it when people ask what you're up to, especially when you're not up to much.
Yeah.
She was like, "Well, I'm working here, trying to figure out my life," and I don't know why I say that. I say that every time. Why not just be confident in what I do? And they will think that I'm doing what I want. But instead,
I hear you. But at that point, you just say, "I'm working."
Yeah,
paying the bills.
I guess so. It's not like we expected great things from each other when we last saw each other, but
it's like, where were you 8 years ago, and where are you now? And you're like, she's like, "Oh, so what are you up to?" And you're like, "Well, I'm working, paying the bills." And you're like, "Well, how about you?" She's like, "Oh, I'm the mayor." Like it's not going to be that surprising.
No, well, I always really hope that when they do say what they were doing or what they're doing now, it's less impressive than what I'm doing, which it usually isn't the case. But this time it was almost the case. They said they worked at this shoe store, but then upped it a bit by saying it was like an office, more of an office job at like the regional. As soon as those words come in, it's like you've outdone me. Stop talking.
I don't necessarily feel that way, Matthew. These office gigs, they can be a real drag.
Yeah, I guess she just seems so much more put together. I don't know. She had
working in an office.
I suppose it just kept getting worse, and I think what should have just been a "Hey, how are you?" I take one headphone out, And then we, but I turned it into taking both my headphones out, walking to her side of the street, and trying to make up for the last thing I said by saying something worse that I would try to make up for with the next thing I say. And it was this domino effect. I ended up walking with her for a few minutes, and then I was like, I need to be the one to end this, because if she ends up saying, it's like, okay, well, nice seeing you, I'm going to feel like that's going to ruin my night. I need to be the one to end this. So I feel like awkwardly, not organically, just in the middle of a conversation, I was like, okay, well, I'll see you later. And then we go to say goodbye, and I don't know what happened there. She may have... When you say goodbye to a girl, you hug them? Hug them?
Really depends on the person. Okay, I see what you're saying. Like, maybe you went for a hug, but they were going for a cheek kiss.
I just...
Were you going for a cheek kiss, but they went for a hug?
I wish one... No, I went for a handshake. Like, a firm, business handshake.
Okay.
And it was... I realized after it happened, that's not where it was heading. That's not what should have happened. And it was
some ladies I would give a handshake to, but not someone who's a friend.
No. I imagine next time she sees me on the street, maybe just pretend like she doesn't see me. I feel like that's the way she's going to play that. But I'm overthinking this interaction.
See, if I haven't seen someone for 8 years, if I'm not excited to see them, I'm just going to not see them.
Oh.
I'm going to look at my phone, look in a store window, just stare straight forward, Just pretend that I did not notice that they were there.
See, I'm fine with that. But she was excited, legitimately excited, stopped her in her tracks. That's true.
She stopped her in tracks, was excited to see you.
She was like, oh, man.
At that point, you give them a big hug. You go, hey, how you been? Oh, wow. That's great. Are we friends on Facebook? Yeah, hit me up. We'll do something soon, but I need you to hit me up or else I'm going to forget. I'm a little short on sleep right now, and I got to go somewhere right now.
Oh, man.
Hit me up on Facebook. I promise I'll reply. We're gonna.
I wish I could go back in time. That was perfect.
I know. That felt really good. That felt really good. I felt as I was saying it, mind you, I was rubbing my eye when I said it.
That's all right. You're usually rubbing yourself when you talk to people anyway, so that just seemed all the more natural.
I think I am.
You used to do it a lot more.
I used to rub my chest a lot more.
Yeah, when you talk on your phone, you would just lean back and rub your whole torso.
Rub my chest.
You're preparing.
There was a while where I was going to the gym a lot more, and my chest was always sore, and I was often massaging my chest muscles, and people were commented pretty frequently on how I rub my chest constantly while talking to them. But it was just really I'm sore here and I'm rubbing. Just because I'm sore.
I don't know. Excuses.
I guess. I mean, this goes back to Iguana Sebs. Was this an attribute of Iguana Sebs?
I believe it was.
Have we talked about Iguana Sebs on the show before?
We've never talked about Iguana Sebs in a public
all.
Forum. No.
Do you want to talk about Iguana Sebs a bit?
It does
because I feel like you made Iguana Sebs, although I kind of am Iguana Sebs.
Iguana Sebs was a construct, an idea, I think, something that we all wanted. The different aspects of your personality kind of pulled and stretched and shoved into the body of an iguana, a king iguana.
A king, that's true. He had a crown floating above his head.
A floating crown.
So basically, you would draw me. Yeah. But with iguana hands and head.
Yeah, an iguana. As an iguana.
As an iguana. With a crown floating above my head.
Yeah.
But this was because I had vaguely iguana features?
It's not
a snap at the air or a sit on warm rocks?
When I think back, it's not like you changed. It's not like you did things slowly. Your eyes didn't dart out at different angles. It was really just your tongue, because when you would concentrate or you'd be thinking about something, I would see your tongue just slowly slip out of your mouth, kind of test the air, and then go back in.
I do reach my tongue out my mouth when I'm drawing or focused on something.
Yeah, and I think that's where it stemmed from. And there were many pictures, and I feel like they all may be lost.
So what was the point?
Well, the point was I couldn't pay attention in class and needed something to do other than pay attention.
So okay, so you
the
would
point
draw
was,
me as an iguana.
Yeah. Iguana Sebs, born of
boredom.
Yeah, born of boredom and
Has
little
yet
to
to
do.
reach his full potential.
And
Despite the crown floating above his head, he is yet to become king.
yeah. What were some of the other? Not really a mascot, but another one we had done was. Well, you didn't come around. Actually, this isn't part of our stories together. This is just Matthew's separate story. But we had gone camping once in high school, and one of the highlights of that weekend was we found a dead beaver.
Oh, I remember this story, though.
Oh,
I'll let you tell it. This is a good story. I enjoy this story.
Oh, I mean, that was the end.
No, it's not.
Story.
No, it is not. No, I'm hitting my microphone now. This is not the end of the story. That story had a name. That story had a ball. That beaver had a name. That beaver had a bald belly or a bald back.
Oh, I'm starting to remember. You're bringing it all back.
He had a name. I want to say it was Nick.
It was Nick.
You had drawings of him where he flew and he had a scary face and a scream. I think he may have spit fire or something. There was something fire. Maybe it was just the sun was nearby because it had burnt his back or something.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah. And he had a Canadian flag as a
cape. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'm getting.
You want to take two on this story?
Well, I mean, all of the things we just said, that was not in the original story. That was the constructed comic version of this story.
But I'm pretty sure he had a bald belly or back.
Oh yeah. Well, the way when we found this dead beaver, it was completely hairless. It was just like full grown, pink and waterlogged because it had washed up on shore, and we were just looking at and. It was disgusting.
You think this was a beaver who had died of old age or something?
It wasn't that long in the tooth,
just swelled up with the water.
His teeth weren't as long as they could have been, so I feel like maybe not because they get really long teeth at that point for old age. But
do beavers' teeth continue to grow their whole lives?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know at this point. Like when they gnaw on wood, that's usually to kind of shave them down.
Okay, that makes sense.
But. So we spent this weekend visiting this dead beaver. It was just off the site a little bit in the water, and I think on the last day we had built up the courage to try and flip it over and also try to maybe pierce it because it looked pierceable. It looked like it. Yeah, you don't want to think about doing it, but like it's when you're there for a few days, you're like, we're not going to leave here and not try.
I'm also not surprised that like a bunch of 16-year-old boys wanted to like poke a dead body, but
I think it was a girl who ended up like
really
taking the stick to do it. But by that time, it had been out in the sun for a day or two.
So you had a sunburn too.
Yeah, so the side that was exposed to the sun was just thick and crispy, like a burnt piece of ham.
Ugh.
Beaver ham, I guess.
Ugh.
But so nothing really came of that beaver. But what that beaver gave us was this little superhero, and he was just a very heavy, dead, bald beaver with a burnt back.
Yeah.
I do believe he was able to spit fire.
Okay.
And he had a Canadian flag as a cape, but he would levitate. He would float. Because I don't think he had wings. He would just fly.
Yeah.
But when he floated, because he was dead, his body would...
His limbs would just kind of sag.
Everything would sag. His belly, his limbs, his face. So it was kind of like he was supposed to look like a propped up with a few wires or a stick. That's why his mouth was always a gap.
It just hit me. If I'm not mistaken, his name was Nick the Dead Beaver. Nick after Nickel.
Oh, yes, that was it. Nick the Dead Beaver. Was his full name.
Yeah. His Christian name was Nick the Dead Beaver.
And I think he fought for Canada.
Of course, why not?
Oh. We should get so far we have Nick the Dead Beaver and Iguana Sebs.
That's true. We've got a few characters. Don't forget Ivan Gauger. We've got a few characters. We're beginning to build a bit of a world here.
Anyway, yeah, we'll build that world.
We'll build that world slowly but surely. Through these shows, when we come up with different weird characters, we got to write them down on a board.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll get a marker board and put it in the other room.
Well, why don't you write down that big book of things that we always talk about doing and never do?
Oh, yeah. Here we go.
Let's add a chapter to that. Actually, this podcast was in that book until